Do you think the team should have tried Mauricio instead of calling up Dani Mendick?
I don't necessarily. I think it's actually a similar conversation to Vientos. I don't necessarily think that Mauricio is solving any big problems on this team or is going to fix anything that you want fixed with the Mets. I think also what can be thought about, at least, or considered, is that, with the trade deadline looming and the Mets trying to see if they would be buyers or sellers, if Mauricio is someone who they do look at, shopping around, that he is more valuable without big league service time. So there is that as well, if that's the direction, the Mets are going in, something they were considering. I did look, and in June, Mauricio hit 202. And he only had 4 home runs. So a lot of the times when you're thinking about Mauricio and how well he's hitting, he is, for the most part, hitting really well. But maybe right when you were thinking of bringing him up, he actually wasn't doing his best. In July, he already has 5 home runs. So because we see all the highlights, and he has been very consistent down there. But I just think it's interesting, if you watch the patterns of his game down there, sometimes maybe he wasn't thriving when you would have seen it as most beneficial. And so wasn't maybe necessarily the best time to bring him up.
Yeah. Dani, do you think that Mauricio will make his major league debut this season?
I hope that he doesn't. I honestly, I don't want to bring him up just to bring him up because they need a spark when they're out of it. Like, I would rather see him break camp and have a whole season to come up. I feel like that's way more impactful than bringing him up for the sake of it. You have 3 rookie guys on your team right now who could use those at bats, who could use that playing time, who could use the experience. So in my eyes, I don't necessarily think that that's going to be the most productive move for this team. I think the larger issue that maybe we don't focus on enough, because it's so easy to be like, bring up this guy, bring up that guy, and see what happens. I don't feel like that leads to success. There's got to be a better plan than that. You have the guys that you've committed your money to and committed resources to who are underperforming. And one of the guys that you've barely committed to is Tommy Pham, who's been your best offensive player. That's really the big issue here, is that your star guys have just underperformed, right? Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, those guys specifically, to me, haven't performed. So asking a rookie and a top prospect to come up just to put butts in seats or to sell some tickets or to get him that minor experience, which I understand, that's what September call-ups are for teams. Like, I don't see that being the best way or the best use of his time. I want to see him to continue to develop. For me, I want him to get that time and just stay there and develop and get better and get stronger and figure out. You heard Elise, what'd you say, 200? Is that what he was batting last month?
202, with only 4 home runs.
Yeah, I mean, like, let him stay and just get a little more experience down there. I don't think that serves either side. That's not the call I would make, but I'm just me.
And there's also the defensive side of it that Billy Epler has talked about, wanting to get him reps in left field and second base, because there's also the defensive end of it. If you bring someone like that up, where will you put them? It's not always just make them a DH and try to, fill that role whenever you need it if he's up here. So it just seems like they're trying to figure out, where he could go in the field and be the most productive as well. And they would like to see more out of that from him.